My name is Charles Osezua, and my wife, Gloria. We've been married for about 45 years, and we have spent the last 30 years working with couples as counselors and therapists. In the next few minutes, we'll talk to you about conflict management in marriage and share with you some of our experiences and the experiences from others.
It has been an incredible journey because marriage involves two imperfect persons called to do a perfect job.
And naturally, there will be mistakes due to individual preferences, which from time to time will deviate from the objective purpose of marriage, which is love.
Marriage is a practical school that offers us a unique opportunity to learn those life lessons of love that help us to build a bright and cheerful home as taught by St. Josemaria.
I guess this is a perfect season to talk about love. As we all know, or at least as taught by St. Thomas Aquinas, love is the sacrifice.
Like we said at the opening section, I will be sharing with you some helpful points about managing conflicts in your marriage relationship. There will always be that disagreement from time to time between both of you and your husband. But we must learn to manage them without hurting each other. Remember, you are two friends who are on a mission of love, and you have to take that into consideration when you deal with each other. Now, there are several areas of conflict. You have money, in-laws, sex, infidelity. The list is endless. Whatever the case may be, it is better you settle these differences as they come. Don't push them under the rug. Don't say, I will deal with them later, or avoid the circumstance that would have helped you to discuss. So you make effort to settle them as they happen. Like that, you put things in perspective. You discuss, you dialogue with each other when you are no longer angry or upset. Otherwise, it will breed resentment in your marriage. And that is something you want to run away from. Now, talking about, timing, when you are no longer angry and all that. Charles and I, used to have what became known as 3 a.m. board meeting. At the beginning, that is a period we chose to dialogue with each other whenever we had any disagreement. At the beginning, it was not something I liked. I didn't like it. But he explained to me that that was one period of the day when I would have to run away. I don't have to run away to go and take care of the children, which will disturb our discussion, or him trying to welcome guests, answer call, or answer the door. So when we tried it, actually, I found it quite comfortable because it gave us the opportunity on uninterrupted discussion period, to share with each other our differences, and we're able to harmoniously reconcile, issues. And you know what? The makeup was actually very, delightful at the end of our discussion. So you don't argue, to win. That is one principle. You don't argue to win. It is not a contest. It is two friends who are trying to help each other to understand what is going on in the life and emotional world of the other person. So you don't blame, no blaming of each other for any reason. If anything, you want your relationship that is more important than either of you to have the chance to survive. So when there is a disagreement, instead of blaming your spouse, you should ask yourself a very basic question, two actually. The first one is, how have I contributed to this, disagreement that we are experiencing? And what can I do to de-escalate, whatever it is that we are going through, so we don't hurt each other without pride, getting into it. This does two things for you. First, it gives you that opportunity to reflect on whatever it is that you are angry about or you people are disagreeing about. And secondly, you are able to, it helps you not to be very, to be less defensive and take some responsibility. So like that, when you do sit to discuss, you are sure that it will be more focused and it will be result-oriented. Another mistake we women usually make when we have this disagreement with our husbands is to think that our husbands knows, our husbands know what is going on in my mind. He should know that I'm not happy, I'm angry. Well, I like to disabuse your mind that actually they don't know. They are not mind readers. They are not in our heads, so they cannot know what we are thinking. So it takes we taking the pain to express our feelings to our spouse, so they're able to understand what is going on, so they can respond to it, properly. So we should not take it for granted or assume that they know. So instead of brooding or criticizing our husbands, we should learn to express our feelings. Oh, my dear, I'm not happy and I don't like it, the way you shut me down in that conversation. So I will appreciate it if you will hear me out. That's already a way of, putting your points across and expressing your innermost feelings about what is going on. And that will also give him the opportunity to respond adequately, to that intention of yours. And our choice of language, when we now say, because we should express ourselves, express our feelings, our choice of language has to be on point as well. What we say is important, but how we say them, how we say it is even more important. It carries more weight, because if we do not choose our language properly, we can hurt each other. So we have to choose our words carefully, very carefully. Choose words that build up, rather than words that breaks up. Because if we don't choose right, if we choose words that break up our spouses emotionally, because you and I, we can become run-on sentence or running tab the way we say things and what we say. But we have to be mindful that we're talking to our friend. So if we don't, watch it, we will be hurting them emotionally. So instead of breaking them, let's try and build. My dear, for instance, we can say, my dear, or whatever pet name you give your husband. I know you've been quite engaged, or you have been under a lot of stress lately. But I believe, we can say, we can discuss, we can do this, differently. giving him benefit of doubt, that will help him to recover, and get back, to us. So we must remember, if we break our spouses, we ourselves become half broken because we are two that have become one. So whatever we do to them, comes around, to also touch us. Now, the other aspect or another reference I would like to make is this silent treatment. Silent treatment should not be used, in managing conflict. You and I know we are very good at that, we women. Oh yes, since you didn't want to hear me out, I'm going to stop talking. So we zip up. We ignore, we resolve to these one-syllable responses. Yes, no, okay, fine. But you know what? It has not worked in the past to resolve conflicts, and it cannot even work now. So let us watch out. What it does to our relationship and to us is that it makes us to drift apart. It separates us instead of actually, uniting us. We end up building, blocks and walls that will now separate us from each other. And before you know it, we'll be unable to see ourselves. And of what good is that? Whenever we're able to come back, we become strangers to each other. But we should work on dialoguing, dealing with issues, and making sure that we carry each other along. So like that, instead of building walls, we'll be building love, which is what we are in this business, to do in our married love. So, and harboring resentment will make it impossible for you to face, your spouse. You can't come face to face with them. And before you know it, you become strangers in your marriage relationships. Your home becomes a house where people just come to take shelter instead of being a home full of warmth, love, affection that make people comfortable and want to come in. Because if your home becomes a house, the tendency is for your spouse to avoid coming home. He will engage himself in some other ways, whatever will keep him, busy until he comes home when you are already asleep, because there's nothing to come home to. So we have to be careful. And what that does is it separates us and we become lonely. And once that loneliness sets in, we start filling it with either something or someone. And something that started as a very small disagreement now starts to mount into a mountain. So we have to be careful about that. And also we have to avoid inviting third parties to into our relationship, whenever we have conflict. Third party meaning maybe our parents, our friends, our relatives, into our, disagreements. What that does, you are opening up your home, your marriage, to external intruders. Yes, you may have started with good intention. You go and tell my mother, oh yeah, you see what Charles did to me today, and he was like this, and he didn't give me that, and he made me do this. And what we have just done, we are sowing seeds of discord against our husband in the hearts of our mother or our relative or our friend, whoever it may be that is hearing us out. So, and what that means, we are creating stress for them, because at the end of the day, when you recovered your relationship, those people you have told, they are still carrying the animosity on your behalf. And if it's your husband to your parents, he will start losing faith he will lack respect. The way they receive him, they love him, would have shifted. So you have greater work to do in that area than before. So it is better we learn to manage, our affairs. For Charles and I, we decided very early in our relationship, in our marriage relationship, that we are not going to be inviting, our parents, our friends, and, from time to time, if we find ourselves in situations that both of us cannot, appreciate what to do, we went to our priest, who will give us insight, and we'll go back home. He still leaves us in freedom to rediscover and recover ourselves, because we need to grow up and mature in this business of living together and being married. Our parents, they live together, they made their mistakes, they learned from it. We don't know how, it all panned out for them. The same thing with us. We have to give ourselves, that chance to live through our relationship, understand each other, make our mistakes, learn from them, and we'll be stronger couple. We'll be that formidable force. If we are able to insulate our relationship from third parties, you'll find that you will be a formidable force. You gain the respect of your folks, on both sides, and your friends. They will even start sending others to you and say, don't you see how Jane and John are living their lives? Can't you take a peek from that? Maybe you should talk to them so they can help you out. So let's not lose the opportunity of helping others by helping ourselves. But if we leave it open, because we don't want to dialogue, we don't want to win and all that, they will run it over. And at the end of the day, you will have no control in your own home. So having said all this, I think it will be important for us to recognize the fact that if we do hurt each other, if we do disagree, we should be able to accept the responsibility and apologize. Apologize. Apology is to, marriage conflict, as Panadol or paracetamol is to headache. Even a child will tell you, mommy, you have headache, take paracetamol or take Panadol. So once we feel offended, or we have offended our spouse, our husband, we should apologize. We shouldn't apologize because, okay, that's what they want me to do. Okay, fine, I've apologized. But it should be from the heart. Because if it's not from the heart, it's like we say, okay, I apologize to you, Turkey, which does not achieve the objective. We have even spoiled it because really and truly, it's not coming from our heart. It has to come from our heart. And we have to be quick to apologize whenever we offend each other, we hurt each other. For Charles and I, when he feels he has offended me, he doesn't have to come and kneel or beg and all. Anyway, it depends on the magnitude, and gravity of the offense anyway. But suffices for him, he will see my silver somewhere and he will bring it and say, you know what, I was passing and I saw your slippers at the, at the entrance. I brought them for you. For me, because I know my husband, that is his own way of saying, I'm sorry, I want to get back into your emotional world. So we have to be open, to accept that as an apology. Once we have apologized or they have apologized to us, let's not keep on keeping on. No, that is not enough. He has to do extra. No, we should accept them back and forgive them. The next right thing is for us to be ready to forgive each other and let the healing take place so we can begin again. Because if we do not accept that apology and forgive, healing cannot begin. So, if we refuse to forgive, it is not only the one that has offended us that is suffering. We are even suffering more because as we have refused to forgive, we are tied down, we are bolted down by those grudges that we are holding. We are not free. So we have to let go. We have to forgive our spouse and let that reunion, which the relationship is meant for, to continue. So it is better we face issues and deal with them as they happen and allow the free flow of love and affection between you and your spouse. And this season of Lent is even a wonderful season for us, to actually, reflect and strive to forgive each other. Forgive the wronged. Let go of all those, any form of, grudges and resentment that we may be harboring in our hearts, because we are dealing with our lover, our beloved. We have to allow them the opportunity to love us again. We have to let go so we can free up our spirit. So, our heart will be free to embrace the risen Christ at Easter. I wish us all the best.
I guess we can conclude by saying conflicts in marriage will come. They are inevitable. When they do come, reflect, and if you are wrong, take responsibility and apologize. So you can start the healing process. And when you do this, you start to bond again. Remember, your marriage will thrive when there's openness, vulnerability. But vulnerability only happens when there's trust. So the quicker you're able to forgive each other, you're able to forgive your wife and your husband of the infractions, then you start to heal and bond. And once you are together, you strengthen your union, and love flows and grows. And your marriage is stronger for it.
Well, therefore, you have to develop shared interests, because these are channels that will help, that strength of the couple to come forth. Develop shared interests and build that emotional bond that will sustain your married love. It comes with good effort. If we don't strive for it, it will not happen. But it helps to alleviate, to alienate from those conflicts that will render our relationship sterile. So let us develop those shared interests, knowing our spouse's world, emotional world, filling their emotional tanks. That we keep them running, loving, and at the end of the day, we have that bright and cheerful home that we have worked hard to get.
Thank you, and I wish you good luck as you manage and find and sustain happiness in your marriage.